Welcome. How you all doing today? Today we're going to be conducting a how to make a simple worm bin, and this is put on by the Cowlitz Master Gardeners and by myself, Art Fuller, and LaDonna Slack. We're both Master Gardeners with Cowlitz. So first of all, we're going to cover the material that we need and the material that is going to be supplied to you for this class. So the first thing we have to do is decide what kind of bin to use, and the bin that I chose was a 7-gallon opaque bin with a cover on it. I picked it up at Home Depot, and this one here is pre-drilled. As you can see, it has holes along the front of it that are pre-drilled for air circulation, and there's also holes on the bottom that are used for drainage. So also what you're going to get with this kit is you're going to get a container of food, and LaDonna will explain that.
So a container of food, and I chop up the food because, as you'll find out, red wigglers don't have teeth. So this is chopped up cantaloupe rind, there's some broccoli pieces in there, there's some apple in there, and worms love coffee grounds, so this is just a container of coffee grounds that you can feed the worms. Eggshells that we're going to mix in with the worms for grit. Again, worms don't have teeth, they have gizzards. So the eggshells give them the grit that they need to grind up the food. And this is the compost that actually comes, that's harvested when you harvest the compost out of the worm bin. So this is the soil or the castings that you get with the worms. Black gold. The worms themselves, again, this came out of the worm bin, so this is the castings here on top. But you can see these are red wigglers down there. And when you get your bin, it will contain a bin of worms with food, with eggshells, with some coffee grounds. It'll be complete in the kit. You've already seen in the PowerPoint presentation about what you can feed the worms. But we'll go over it again because in the kit itself will contain a menu for worms. So it's got it listed out: breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, beverages, everything that you can put in there. So basically, fruits and vegetables cut up, no dairy products, no meat products, no fish products, no citrus products. So fruits and vegetables, bread products, cereal products, cake without frosting could be put in there. They're not really picky eaters. When we set up the bin, we use the shredded paper, and we'll demonstrate that as we go through setting up the bin, and actually use some water to wet it down.
All right, let's get started on making the bin. So as I said earlier, we had the 7-gallon bin already selected, and the holes are already pre-drilled. So if you look at the very bottom right here, you can see that there's 4 drill holes, and they are 13/64 of an inch. And I kept them kind of close within this perimeter right here, so you can put a tray under there, and it doesn't, when the leachate drips out of there, it'll run into a tray after we tilt the bin. And also, we need air circulation holes, and those holes are right here, and they are a 5/32 drill size, and they are around the whole perimeter. So the first thing we want to do is, as you can see the depth of this bin, we want to start putting shredded paper in there for bedding for the worms. So LaDonna's going to assist me and start putting paper in. And we want to fill it up about 1/4 of the way. Okay, so we've got the shredded paper added. And now what we want to do is we want to get this nice and moist and damp. So I use a spray bottle with water and I just start spraying it down. And get it good and damp. And we want it damp like a wrung out sponge. Okay, we have finished spraying the paper. There's other alternatives. You can use a sprinkler can and dampen it because this takes a lot of water because the paper is pretty dry. But as you can see, it's pretty moist right now, and you don't want it where you can squeeze out a sponge. That's too wet.
That's too wet.
So you want it to be basically just where you can't squeeze water out of it. So that's the consistency of what it looks like, and it's supposed to be very damp. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we're ready to populate the bin.
So your kit will contain a container of worms, and you can see the red wigglers right there. And with that, we will add a few eggshells. We will add some food, some coffee grounds. This will all be part of the worm bin that you're getting with this class.
Okay. And this container is going to have approximately about a 1/4 pound of worms mixed with castings in the food. And all you're basically going to do is just dump this right into your bin and empty it out. So now you've just added the worms to the worm bin. Next thing, all we have left to do is cover it up with some shredded paper. And we don't have to put quite as much paper on it as we did. Go over more. And the reason you want to keep it covered is because the worms don't like the light, because they are light sensitive. And it also, one more. And it'll also help filter out smells. So that's going to be basically the finished product. And you want to squirt this down with some water, just dampen it, not like you did the other bedding. And that helps keep it solid and together. And it will help filter out your smells. And your bin is done. You just got to keep them covered. And whenever you want to feed, my suggestion is to go to a corner of the bin and put the food in, and then mark the top with a piece of tape so you know exactly where you fed them. And then each week you feed them approximately a cup of food and go counterclockwise or clockwise. And feed in each corner, it makes the worms migrate through the whole bin for you. And it'll change that bedding into casting material. So our final step is, once the bin is done, you want to set the bin on some 2x4s basically, and you want it leaning. And then you just put a little collection tray underneath the drain holes so your leachate can collect in that drain bin. And you won't be getting leachate for about 6 months. But once you start getting that leachate, you can start making worm tea and everything else. So that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, please give us a call, and the number was posted in the PowerPoint.